I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. Italian heritage is on display. It's a celebration of Columbus Day.
How are you?
These little traditions, Columbus Day Parade, other things, keep neighborhoods close and keep neighborhoods sound.
What part will Hispanics play in the future of the church? And finding God in this dog-eat-dog world.
That when we live in God's world, we rejoice with His presence everywhere.
Well, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. It is an annual tradition here in Brooklyn for the 28th time, a celebration of Italian heritage on Columbus Day weekend. This Saturday, the Federation of Italian Organizations was among the sponsors of the Columbus Day Parade in Bensonhurst.
It all started with a mass at St. Athanasius Church, followed by a parade down 18th Avenue. A number of dignitaries took part in the celebration, including Brooklyn Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio.
Was a religious man. Some of his motivation was religious. He had studied the works of Marco Polo, who had been the great discoverer of China almost 2 centuries before, and he saw that he wanted to bring Christianity to those who did not know Christ. In his voyage, the crew was almost treated like a group of monks. They had prayers at particular times, they sang Vespers, and he had 2 chaplains with him. So at all times, there was a religious atmosphere in this voyage of discovery.
Today is also celebrating the contributions of Italian Americans to Brooklyn and to all of New York and America. And I'm here every year because, truth be told, almost every Jew wishes they were Italian anyway. So, hey, that's why I'm here. And earlier today, I celebrated with the Panamanians.
There are 700,000 Italian Americans living in New York City. Italian itself is the 6th most widely spoken language after English. So I think it's a very strong future, and we can continue to contribute to all aspects of culture, society, the economy that there is.
These little traditions, Columbus Day Parade, other things, keep neighborhoods close and keep neighborhoods sound and keep neighborhoods with the experience of Christianity.
We have to recognize that the evangelization of the New World began with his discovery. And so we're looking back over 500 years to say that the evangelization at the beginning of the New World was really the fruit of his discovery and of the work that followed. So that's why it's important for us, not so much the details, and maybe not even so much the errors of the time, but to recognize that it was begun with the best of intentions and that we have to return to those best intentions in our new evangelization today.
And his discoveries were pure in the context of attempting to extend your intellect, extend your capacities as human beings. What comes after, it's people who make it. But Christopher Columbus is just like any one of us in the context of trying to get a goal achieved.
What happened after him, there were difficulties, there was exploitation of the Indians, which was unfortunate, but no way can you attribute it to him, to what he tried to do. He himself, in his last voyage, was brought back in chains. He was arrested because of jealousy about what was being accomplished. So he had the great accomplishments, but at the same time, he had some sadness in his life, and he died at age 57, rather young. To be an American means to be many, many things. It's not just one way of being an American, and I think that's what makes our country great. We are able to bring people together, to work together in certain unity.
The 28th Annual Columbus Day Parade through the streets of Bensonhurst. And pop quiz for you. Who's the other one that America is named for? Big explorer. Amerigo Vespucci.
That's right.
I was like, why doesn't he have a day named after him?
Exactly. Who knows? Who knows? But you picked a big weekend, Miss Italian, to go out of town and miss all the festivities.
I had
here.
a wedding in Florida I had to head to, so they got married. They're a beautiful couple, and now they're on their honeymoon. So it was a good excuse.
Right. Well, this happens every year, so you can go next year.
Yeah. All right.
So it'd be a part of all the fun. It did look like a lot of fun out there. No more pop quizzes for me.
He's mad now. He's really mad at me now.
Right. Well, stay tuned. There's much more currents coming up straight ahead. When we return, all the day's headlines. A key vote today on health care legislation. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime. Coming up just a little bit later, looking for God in the big city.
But first, let's have a look at the day's headlines. Well, the Senate Finance Committee has approved the much-debated health care reform bill. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid says he hopes to put the bill before the entire Senate by the end of the month. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, meantime, has said they will vigorously oppose the bill unless it's amended to expressly prohibit federal funding for abortion. But the White House says the bill would not fund abortion with federal dollars. Meantime, the Bishops' Conference is giving its advice to the Obama administration on the moral and humanitarian issues regarding the war in Afghanistan. The bishops say dealing with the root causes of terrorism, long-term humanitarian assistance, development, and protecting civilians should be guiding principles for how the country deals with Afghanistan and Pakistan. President Obama is currently considering whether to send up to 60,000 additional troops to the region.
From the Vatican now, the Synod of African Bishops continues, and as we now hear from H2O News, talk turned to addressing the problem of hunger, which is only growing in Africa.
For the first time in the history of humanity, the number of hungry people has reached 1 billion. In Africa, despite the significant progress, the situation is very worrisome. There are 271 million undernourished people, that is 24% of the population, an increase of 12% in relation to the year before. This is what Jacques Diouf, Director General of the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, said on Monday, October 12th, during his speech at the Synod of Bishops, to which he was invited as a special guest. For the Director General, the vision of a world free of hunger is possible if there is a political will at the highest levels. In this commitment, religions offer a priceless support, Diouf said, paying homage to the numerous missionaries and religious who often do the difficult tasks, at times the ungrateful, but always useful, alongside the organizations of civil society.
In his remarks to the Synod, Diouf said fighting hunger is a matter of faith. Well, the Vatican has announced Pope Benedict will visit Rome's synagogue in January. The visit will come almost exactly a year after Benedict lifted the excommunication of a bishop who denied the extent of the Holocaust. Benedict will be just the second pope to visit the synagogue. And the Pope canonized 5 new saints over the weekend. Father Damien, who ministered to lepers in Hawaii, and Jean Jugan, who founded the Little Sisters of the Poor. They're among the newly canonized. The other 3 new saints, a former Archbishop of Warsaw, Poland, and 2 Spanish monks.
Oh, well, 5 new saints all at once.
Congratulations.
Absolutely. A big weekend, of course, in Rome. And our general manager actually here at NET, Chris Quinn, made the trip.
He did, and I believe he's still there. I think he's a big fan of Father Damien, and it's easy to see why, because as I think I may have mentioned last week, such an example with ministering to lepers and putting your own life at risk and your own health at risk in order to truly help people that other people shun.
Yeah, really, and really someone that should be emulated. And we can't all go minister to lepers in Hawaii for our entire lives or anything like that, but just little things that we do in our daily lives helping out those that are less fortunate. Jean Jugan was also another one, and you did an interview about that last week as well.
I did. She is French. You pronounced that very well. Or was
2 years of French served me well.
Very nice. Yeah, I interviewed Sister Therese. She was great. Little Sisters of the Poor. Takes care of the poor, the elderly, a lot of people that are sick and at more the end of their lives. A lot of people care for babies and children at the beginning of their lives, and her real work was really more for people toward their end.
Right. Serves as a great example to us all.
Again.
Well, stay tuned. There's much more currents coming up straight ahead. Coming up, as we wrap up Hispanic Heritage Month, we'll meet some men who may be coming to a parish near you. For the last 4 weeks during Hispanic Heritage Month, we've been looking at the culture and contributions of Hispanics to the Catholic Church in Brooklyn and Queens.
In this city of immigrants, Hispanics are a growing part here in the diocese, and we've looked at how their presence has increased over the years.
And that presence may be increasing in our parishes too, and not just in the pews. Our Natalia Ortiz has more.
Most guys in their mid-20s are hanging out at bars picking up girls. But the guys at this bar are in a very different mission. Meet Carlos Velázquez, Felix Herrera, and Jason Espinal. They're the next Hispanics in line to be ordained priests, and the bar where they're shooting pool is in the basement of the Immaculate Conception Seminary in Huntington. Recently, I got to spend a few hours looking at what the life of these young men is like.
You know, we're not, people have some kind of a image of a seminary in their head that we're all walking around praying all day. You know, we are doing that, we are praying, but there's a lot more to seminary life. You know, there's study, there's time for study, there's time for work, and there's time for play.
So play as in the organ.
As in the organ, yep.
But when he's not playing the organ, Carlos spends most of his spare time studying in his room. Okay.
This is what a normal seminarian's room looks like.
It's kind of small.
Yeah, it's very small.
So am I the first girl to come into your room?
I think you are, yeah. Actually, no, you're not. My mother was here a few weeks ago.
Well, your mother doesn't count.
And my sister, but you're the only other person that's been here.
But there are many things these priests-to-be do that's no different than every other typical 20-something. So, you may not think, but seminarians, too, are on Facebook.
It's really nice because I can stay in contact with my family or my friends, people who I've been to school with and stuff, so it works well.
Cool.
Same reason everyone else uses it for.
Yeah. You know, we just think you guys live in this bubble. I think that's what happens. Perhaps most people think seminarians are so different because the decision to become a priest is seen as countercultural by most. So why would a young guy want to give up the prospect of having a wife and kids?
And in every other major I chose, I was never as comfortable as I was when I was in the seminary and thinking about the priesthood. Not because I knew I couldn't do anything else, because I could, but it's just that this was what was right for me.
But, as in most important life choices, Jason tells us doubt arises every now and then.
You know, you question whether this life is truly for me, but even in a marriage, you have both spouses that they have to communicate all the time. And there are times that you're just like, how do I know that this is the wife for me? Well, the church is our spouse, and how do we know that this is for us? You just kind of know. You're led to her, and you're called to love her.
Okay. Though the typical Hispanic family wants to see their family grow, these men assert they're simply choosing a different type of family. As Hispanic priests, they will carry an additional responsibility, ministering effectively to the Brooklyn Diocese's fastest growing group.
In our present world, you know, many Hispanics are seen as the minority, you know, and they want to express their rights. You know, they're saying, you know, we come to this country to find the same goals that many Italian Americans and Irish Americans did back in the 30s or 20s, you know, and they want that same opportunity. So I think, as me as a priest, I think I can outreach to them and bring them into the fold and say, you know, I'm one of you guys, I'm here to support you. Come, ask me anything you want, and I will give you as much time as I can. So.
And they think that's a worthy goal to shoot for. Carlos, Jason, and Felix are scheduled to be ordained in the summer of 2014, adding even more Hispanic heritage to the Diocese of Brooklyn.
All right, well, a lot of fun. And three guys there who are adding a lot to the Diocese of Brooklyn because
they're
Hispanics
cool. They are.
Well, and Hispanics are such a big part of the diocese now. You know, I mean, it's nice that there are some Hispanic priests to be.
It's important, and you know, they were telling me there's so much to do. There's so many Hispanics in the Diocese of Brooklyn, and there are so few of us right now that we are really trying to ramp up, you know, and get ready for it. Yeah.
Well, that was nice. I mean, because you did a couple of things with that piece.
Right.
You showed us, you know, what it was like to be a young seminarian in certain respects, and in this particular seminary anyway, and then also, you know, some of the reasons why they went into it. Because I think it is worth noting that a lot of times, as with Italians, for example, you're expected to have this big family, but that the church is the spouse, and that from that you will bear many children and have much fruit, but it'll just be a little different.
Right. And that's when it really clicked for me. I really didn't understand it before, because being a typical layperson, you just don't really get it. And then when he said to me, oh, but this is family, it's just a different type of family. People aren't used to, you know, looking at it that way. And when he said that, it kind of, you know, clicked. So.
And you said it. I mean, you know, you get this image of seminarians and you know, and priests too, and religious and everything else. You know, living in this bubble, when you know, a lot of times they have very similar lives to our own.
Like everyone else is.
Him on Facebook.
Right.
Oh, he's already my friend. Believe me, they're all friends of mine.
What's
up? Thank you.
Well, Natalia, thank you very much.
All right.
Stay tuned. There's much more Currents coming up straight ahead. Coming up, looking for God in the wrong places? Help may be right around the block.
We're surrounded by God in the city, and to not see Him is a tragedy.
And finally tonight, New York has a reputation. Perhaps it's not a fair one, but maybe, you know, people think that it's kind of an unfriendly city. But there are plenty of things that you can point to.
Well, we've already seen the effects of greed and corruption on Wall Street. We all know that. That's only the tip of the iceberg, really. With so much to do in the city that never sleeps, it's easy to get pulled in the wrong direction.
It is a situation that may leave people wondering, where is God in all of this? Well, the young adult group at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Manhattan recently held a talk to get some answers, and it's where we sent our cameras.
It'd be really terrible to live in a place where we couldn't find God. That would just be about the end. When we were kids, we thought about God. And then as we got older, we had specific ways of looking at God, maybe in church or in the Bible. As that grew more sophisticated, then we started shutting out the outside world. We said, oh, God is in the church. But outside the church, well, God isn't out there. And as a result of this, we lost touch with the fact that the whole world is God's. And the great thing is then, if we get this, is that when we live in God's world, we rejoice with His presence everywhere.
New York City itself is a very secular town, and you know there are a lot of distractions. People are always running, people are always on their BlackBerry, the cell phones are always on the move. So when do we find time to stop and pray and work on something that's very important, and that is our relationship with Christ? And if we work on that, then we could find some peace, then we could understand how to deal with the problems that we face every day.
Oh, the subway traffic, the commute, people at work. There's so many moments during the day where you don't see God, and it's good to remember.
We always sort of talk about our coworkers and a lot of the challenges that we face in the workplace, even amongst our own Catholics in New York, who, they sort of seem to be running in all these different circles and not really finding that happiness that everyone is setting out to find. And we all know deep down inside that the reason why nobody can find this happiness is because they're not looking for the right thing. They're not looking for God. They're not looking for Him in the right way. So we were like, why don't we do something about finding God in this jungle that is New York City?
My contention is that we're surrounded by God in the city. And to not see Him is a tragedy. Let's find out where people find God and help them to relate with that or to connect with that more in their lives.
I find Him very much in my marriage. And I try to find in whatever I do, like keeping myself open to the workings of the Spirit and with my conscience.
I like what he said about going out and seeing God everywhere. It's just it's the little things. The blackout was an example of just people helping each other, and just times of either stress, people have come together, or just, you know, in an everyday day, I see people helping each other all the time. So it's motivating. It helps you remember that there is God in the city.
Now the great thing is, when we realize that we're living in God's world, and when we rejoice in that world, then when we come back into the church, this place where we had developed a relationship with Him, then we realize how much more special that is. And we know that we're even closer to Him.
Well, Father Joseph Tyrell, the Master of Ceremonies there at St. Patrick's Cathedral, helping people find God in rough and tumble New York City.
I think God is everywhere. I see Him every day, or feel Him, or in sometimes good ways or bad ways. It could be the way the little, girl is smiling at her dad, or that somebody today, for example, on the airplane helps somebody else with their luggage. Yeah. That kind of kindness. And then also, I don't mean in a bad way. I just mean sometimes life is rough. Yeah. Yes, it can be kind of rough, but it doesn't mean that you don't feel connected to something, or that it might not work out, because you do have faith in God that there will be a brighter day at some point, as long as you continue to be a good person.
Yeah. Well, and I saw, for me, it kind of went back to when we were talking about Father Damien earlier and Jean Jougain, about their service to those who are less fortunate. And I was thinking about my subway commute this morning. And as I was passing through the 7th Avenue subway station, I saw 3 homeless people sleeping on a bench. Mm-hmm. And it was, I think that I need to maybe try and see God more in those everyday situations and in those who are less fortunate. Mm-hmm. And if I do that, maybe I, in my own personal life, will be more willing to help out and willing to emulate Father Damien or Jean Jougain in helping those who are less fortunate.
Yeah, you have to find a place and a way in which you're comfortable. I remember I always used to feel guilted into not doing enough. I always felt like I was going to try and do too much, and I couldn't do that, but I do what I can. Yeah. And that's okay for now.
And that's all we're asked.
Yeah, for now. And that's all
for now.
We have for now, for currents. The story of a campaign that has brought 100,000 people back to the Catholic Church. I did that interview.
Well, that's coming up tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So until then, remember, you can always watch us online. Just head on over to currentsny.net. There you can see some clips of the show. Check out our blog. It is called Riding the Wave.
And you can also keep up with us on Facebook. Like I said, I'm going to try and find that seminarian. No, just kidding. Just head over to facebook.com/currentsny. So for all of us here at Currents, I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. Thank you so much for watching tonight, and have a great one.